You see many people telling you they want to be as wealthy as Elon Musk. They want to take the cyberspace. They want to take the stock market. What do you do with $10 billion? You think all of that is for a car? You think all of that is for you to travel to Bahamas? God has an agenda. And so when God is talking empowerment over systems and nations, it's because there's an agenda he wants to drive. That's why he said, remember the Lord your God. It is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that you may establish his covenants, even unto this day. When the burdens of God becomes your burdens, you will notice that there will be strange speed, there will be strange acceleration, and there will be strange empowerment in all your operations. You won't even be able to explain it. The reason is because in the place of burden, we synchronize with God. We and God become one. That's what happened to Moses. He said when Moses was come of age, he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He started feeling the burdens of God because the people of God were in captivity. The people of God were in torment and in torture. That was what affected Moses. Moses was not looking to become a great prophet. He was not desiring to become somebody that had rule over Egypt. He just had the burden to liberate Israel. And as that burden was growing, God now empowered that burden. And on the strength of that, he commissioned Moses to take over the agenda of delivering Israel from the captivity of Egypt. The third qualification of an intercessor is the ability to sustain burden. The fifth qualification is stamina. 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 Stamina in the spirit is the capacity to focus on God and God only. How many of you have watched Merlin? How many of you have watched Merlin? You see that the prince thinks it's his bow and arrow that is winning battle. He didn't know that the young man who was following him was a warlock. When he meets the dragon, he addresses him as young warlock. The guy has the power to cast spell. He has the power to create victory, even where there's no victory. So that at the end of the day, they will achieve Albion, a territory where sorcery and witchcraft will be allowed to be practiced free of charge. That's their goal. So the reason they are preserving the life of the prince is to achieve Albion. That's how territories are formed in darkness if the priesthood of light is not established. And some will grow from warlocks to become sages. A sage is a teacher in darkness. Those ones have the power to impart those abilities. So our fathers here will tell you that those days somebody can come to you and say, cut a grass and give me. If you give him, he will say some things, rub his hand on you, and scorpion will never sting you again. He has the power to transfer demonic powers. So he has now been trained in darkness. That's how these people influence what you call the marketplace. That's how they influence what you call government. So the reason you go to certain nations, the foundation of governance is corruption, is because some sages and warlocks spoke it into the foundation. Make no mistakes about it. An intercessor is one who has been vetted by God to be able to stand in the gap for others. A prayer warrior can pray prayer points. He can pray with prayer power. But God has not vetted him to stand in the gap. An intercessor is one that God has vetted to stand in the gap for others. This is why I told you, when priesthood begins to play its maximum purpose, the goal will not just be, I'm succeeding in the market. The goal will be that I'm changing the laws in the market. When priesthood enters its reality, the goal will not just be that I won an election, I'm now governor, I'm now president. No, the goal is that you are changing the laws that makes for the workings of that institution. Because everything that governs how that institution runs before you is a priesthood. So when you come with a new priesthood, you must change the modality. And so if people are winning elections through corruption in Zambia, if you come in by the priesthood of Melchizedek, you will not just win an election, you will change the order. And so after you, anybody who comes through corruption will lose. That's what priesthood does. If people are succeeding in business through compromise and a new priesthood is erected, business will now become something you succeed in through integrity and transparency. That's how priesthood works. And these are some of the things that shape nations. So when we are talking about marketplace priesthood, we are talking about men that have rank to bring legislation and litigation so that they can change systems, alter paradigms, and establish new ideologies that will now govern how operations are carried out within the context of the territory where they find themselves. One of my mentors told a story. He said he went for a meeting somewhere, and the lady they attached him to, she just, whether she was drinking water or something, water dropped on her, and the water rolled from her arm straight down. One molecule didn't hang. the way the skin was. He saw that vision for 2 weeks. If he goes home, he wants to pray, he will just see the skin, the way the skin. He had to pray, Lord help me, Lord help me. Did you read about Solomon? Wise man, great entrepreneur, but suddenly he met strange women. He started building different altars and introduced foreign gods to corrupt the covenant of God, because there was no stamina. There was no stamina. Before God calls you his certified intercessor, he will check the stamina of your spirit. What can you ignore to focus on God? Can you ignore power? Can you ignore money? Can you ignore women? Can you ignore influence? If you don't have the capacity to ignore everything and stay true to the visions of Abba, you are not a man to be sent to the marketplace. Because commissioning is a rank in the spirit. And for those of us who are priests, God will carry us through this route. When you enter here and God certifies you and you begin to talk and the installations of darkness begins to fall, you will now notice that there are two other things that happens to an intercessor. Number one is warfare. Because when you start praying and things the devil has planted in territories begin to fall, they will see you as a threat. Who is that person that spoke and this program that has lasted for 50 years was shut down? They will come for you. And when they come for you, then God will give you the fifth qualification, which is discernment. So that you will know when to run. You will know when to stand to fight. You will know when to sit. You will know when to hide. An intercessor is like the wind. There are times when he rises up with bows and arrows and he fights. There are other times where he disappears. And so for 2 weeks, nobody sees you. And they say, where has he gone to? You are hiding because discernment has come. Not every battle is fought. Some are avoided. But if you don't have the weapon of discernment, you will not know what it takes to operate in those corridors. Ask those that God has commissioned. Their greatest strength, what makes them invincible, is the weapon of discernment. He says, as the wind bloweth, thou knowest not from whence it cometh or whence it goeth. He says, so are they that are born by the Spirit of God. You can go for some meetings. They ask you a question and you don't answer. You just do like this. Whether you are saying yes or no, they can't tell. Because that meeting is not your answer they are looking for. They just wanted to say you too spoke there, so that they will include you among people that will become victims. And so the Holy Ghost tells you your voice cannot be heard. And so although you couldn't escape the meeting, you came. When they are talking, you are just doing like this. You do like this until you go. They now want to probe and attack everybody that went for that meeting. They are doing voicing. When they check the whole voicing, your voice didn't appear. The guy who was supposed to be a prophet thought he was making money and enjoying women. After a while, he is publicly disgraced and he dies of depression. So he can never fulfill his ordination anymore. Because if you fail, you will enter the ordinations of darkness. Meanwhile, these beings don't stop there. All of the things I've explained here is where they make agents from. Agents are the puppets of demonic spirits. They use them to fulfill their agenda. They send them all over. But amongst agents, they select a few who are specially gifted and empower them, and they are called witches and wizards. A witch is a being that has a man or a woman that have the power to cast spells. So when the principality comes to Zambia, for example, and discover their prophets here, he will have many agents here that pursue immorality, pursue flamboyant things. When he's using them, he will now raise some of them to become witches. Those witches will cast spells into the atmosphere so that those things will thrive. So you will not know why a move of faith, false prophets will begin. You will not know why a move of seduction begin. Some have become casters of spells. And he won't stop there. He will raise some to become warlocks. You know, those of you who watch medieval movies, you will see how kingdoms are formed. They are formed through sorcery. They say God resisted the proud, but he giveth more grace to the humble. The grace you need to talk so that kings will marvel at you, it comes when you pass the test of brokenness. If you think it's to go there to show that you are the most intelligent person on the table, you are a joker. If you go there, you must show them that you are under another king. You are but the servant of the Most High. Because when they ask you, how do you know these things? You will not say it's because I have 3 degrees from Harvard. You say, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. But you see, when proud people go to the table, they want to receive the glory for themselves. Go and check everyone who took nations in the Bible. Every time they are asked an opportunity, they are asked a question, they channel the glory to God. How do you think Pharaoh knew that Joseph was a prophet? Because Joseph himself made him know that I'm a servant of God. And so Pharaoh said, because God has shown you these things. He didn't say you know these things because you are intelligent. He said God showed you these things. Therefore, there's no one in your class. Take over. We want to go to the table of nations, and our pride is too bogus. God has no place to feature in. Our priesthood will be questioned. If you want to be a man who stands in the gap for others, you must pass the test of brokenness. God will make sure that humility becomes one of the heaviest molecules of your life. The third test you pass as an intercessor is the test of burdens. Burdens. An intercessor, like I told you, is not just a prayer warrior. When you find an intercessor praying, he's praying what is in the heart of the Father. And so, although it's important for you to prosper in the stock market, but what is God's program there? If you don't know God's program there, and you think you just want to go there and excel, that place is too big for your appetite. Because the Bible said, if you have what to eat, what to wear, and where to lay your head, it said be content with it. When you are talking about billions, do you think the men who own billions is for food, is for car, is for what to wear? No, there are certain monies that is too big for your need. Those monies are for the needs of a generation. And so if you want to take over in the market as an intercessor who is representing God in the priesthood, you must know the burdens of God. When God begins to turn your attention to government and governance, ask him, what do you want from this corridor? If God begins to turn your attention to the real estate, ask him, what do you want from here? If God is turning your attention to the diamond market, ask him, what is your program? I'm not going there just because I need a better life. I'm going there because you have an agenda. And so that agenda is what drives you. When the agenda of God begins to drive you and the burdens of God becomes your burden, then you have passed the test of an intercessor. And it's on the strength of that God will begin to give you the authority to declare a thing and it shall be established. There is a realm you get to in power. You'll be shocked the number of distractions there are. You are just going to work every day, coming back as a banker. You don't know what is happening. You have a salary of 100,000 kwacha, 150,000 kwacha, and that's okay. You are just living your life. Wait until you become the CEO of a bank. They will tell you we have dinner in Saudi Arabia. And that dinner, the room where they will serve that dinner, if you see those who are serving, you will now know that, oh, there are bankers and there are bankers. You ask those who have gone to certain places. You will see some distraction that even when you come back, after 3 months, the distraction will be in the center of your brain. Every day to be real to you because of how vivid and how pleasurable that distraction is. You will carry it in your mind. If you don't have the priesthood that stands in the presence to knock it off, next weekend you will go back, even when there's no dinner. That's why you see that most of our leaders are not in our country. Somebody say he's a senator representing a district. He doesn't visit. He visits there only during election. Senator relocates from the district that he's representing. He goes to live in another nation. Every week, senator is in Dubai. He leaves Dubai, he's in Kuwait. He leaves Kuwait, he's in Paris. He's pursuing distraction because there's no priesthood. Now, those distractions are the things that make men siphon the commonwealth of the people and waste them. Because if you don't have stamina, if you see, you will go to certain meetings and you will see some, for those of you who are men, you will see some women, they will walk in. The perfume they will put on. If you perceive that perfume, you will remember it for 2 years. Perfume. And then when you come, they will say, this person will assist you for this week. When she turns and say hi. When you leave that conference, you will be hearing hi, hi, hi. Sometimes our visions are too small and myopic. So the whole idea of the miracle service is a breakthrough. The whole idea of the miracle service is a healing. Meanwhile, these guys are growing to a level where they are trying to insist that healing is not necessary. We know what to do that you will not be sick. They are getting to a level where they want to create systems where you don't need to hear a word like breakthrough. And we are still at that primordial level. Because we can't see the future. We can't see what is coming. That's why our messages are only sensitive to territories where people have lack. We can't talk to people who have grown beyond the basic needs of life because we have nothing to offer them. And that's why you can't raise leaders in church. We can't think global issues. We can't think global impact. So our messages, our anointings are only relevant to the poor and helpless. And so Abraham is the father of many nations. And so one of them is bigger than the 5 kings. That's why that battle had no casualty. There was no record that one died. All of them came back. The only record we had was that they returned with the spoils of war. Because you can't kill an Abraham. And so in addition to training, there was something he found in the heavens. It is the reason why from the time of Abraham, a patriarch can call you and bless you. Because now they know how to impart God. Now they know how to impart dimensions of God to people. It was from the time of Abraham that technology began. Because now I don't need to really be with you physically, but I can divide myself into you. So such as I carry, I can put upon you. And when you leave me, the same things I experience, you too can experience it. The same God that intervenes for me can intervene for you. It was in priesthood that he landed. Because when you start beholding, you start becoming. That's when your propensities in God are activated. Your journey from ministering to the Lord to waiting upon the Lord to beholding him, and then you come into the 4th realm, which is participation in the beloved. A point now comes where they give you a place in the realm of God. You have a place. You know, Elijah was speaking in 1 Kings 17 verse 1. He said, before God whom I stand, there shall be no rain or dew. He was speaking from a place. When you go there and you arrive there, there is a place that is allocated to you. So you talk from your own place in God. Many have not ascended to that level. See, Paul was speaking. He said, I magnify my office. I know all of us are born again, but I have something with God. And that thing I have with God is my place in God. Peter was coming to the beautiful gate with John in Acts chapter 3. And he says, silver and gold have I none. He didn't say such as we have. All of us are born again. All of us are apostles. But there is something I have with God. There is a place I stand with God. It says, such as I have. Remember, he said, look, some people can be in the healing ministry, but you are different. 10 million people can be making hair, but you are different. In fact, 2 of you can be on the same street. There will be no competition. Because what you carry cannot be copied. It was downloaded from Zion. You know, they were called Christians in Antioch because they saw they looked like Christ. But the kingdom of God is for priests. That means if you are not a priest, although you have all the blessings of God, you cannot enjoy it. Because on one side is what God has done for you. But over and above what God has done for you, there is what God is doing in you, and there's what God will do through you. It is in priesthood that you will receive what God is doing in you and through you. The finished works of Christ is what God has done for you. But when you come to priesthood through your interaction with the Holy Ghost, God will begin to work in you so that God can work with you. And many don't know this. And so when we operate as Christians and not priests, we will keep singing what Jesus has done, but we will not have what it takes to manifest it. Meanwhile, the battle of existence is a battle of evidence. The things you talk about, can you demonstrate it? So priesthood comes to help us demonstrate what Jesus has made available to us. And that is why from the beginning, the plan of God was priesthood. In Genesis chapter 2 from verse 15, after God created the man, Genesis 1:26, Genesis 2:7, put him in the Garden of Eden. In Genesis 2:15, God told him, dress the garden and keep it. Those are 2 vital words. The word dress is the word yada. And that word means cultivate the garden. And the word keep is the word shama. That word means to defend it. So these 2 words in the original sense is priesthood and guardianship. So on one side, you need to have what it takes to be relevant in the territory. On another side, you need to have what it takes to keep the territory connected to heaven so that it doesn't lose its relevance. So when he created Adam, he had priesthood in mind. After man fell, God came, introduced priesthood to Abraham. After man was taken in slavery, when God encountered Moses again, in Genesis 19 from verse 4 to verse 6, he introduced priesthood again. He said, see how I've delivered you by my mighty hand. I took you on eagle's wings so that I will make you a kingdom of priests. I came to make priests because only by priesthood can there be connection to heaven and there will be dominion on the face of the earth. And that pattern never changed. Even after Jesus came and resurrected, Peter came and reiterated the same emphasis. In 1 Peter 2:9, he said, you are a chosen generation. You are a royal priesthood. God's own special people called forth to showcase his excellency. And in Revelation chapter 1 verse 6, John reiterated it. He said, unto him that washed us and made us kings and priests unto God. So we were designed to function in the kingdom of God as priests. And as priests, we must first of all know how to keep interaction with the heavens, and then by extension know how to apply that interaction to dominate the earth realm. There are certain business meetings before you go to. Ask those who are in the market, they will tell you. They will ascend before they go out. Because if you don't go to certain heights, you won't even have the wisdom to transact. And for you to ascend, there are ladders. And the first is to minister to the Lord. He said, now take Aaron, your brother, and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister to me as priest. So the job of priesthood and the key for ascension in priesthood is the ability to minister to the Lord. When a priest wants to interact with Elohim, when a priest wants to ascend in the realm of God, the first ladder he will ascend is the ladder of ministering to the Lord. And ministering to the Lord is a statement in the spirit. It means you have come to a point where you see God beyond your circumstance. Because your circumstance will clog your soul and pull you down. Every time you want to ascend, you will discover that the things of life will weigh on your soul. And so a man who knows the pathway to the heights of heaven is a man that knows how to let go of his experiences and his circumstances and minister to the Lord. Ministering to the Lord is simply an act of praising and exalting him for who he is, not for what he has done. You must come to that point where for you, God becomes your unique goal. You see, even the doctrine we teach in church today trains people to be carnal. Because we make them feel that all they come to God for are material blessings. But the order of the kingdom is that material blessings are supposed to be an addition. The higher you go, the more you possess. And you possess it not by hustling, sometimes by wisdom, sometimes by favor, sometimes by discernment. You enter into strategies superior to what is studied in the university. And so you know what to do part-time. You can sit down in January 2023 and invest in something that will begin to blossom in March 2024. And nobody saw it, but you bought it at a share rate that when you make even $1 on all the shares you bought, you'll become a billionaire. But it will take priesthood for you to see. That's the eagle eye. You see salt from a height. And when God wants to improve us and increase us, one thing he teaches us is how to journey up. If your garment is stained, you'll be a casualty of war. Because when you go to the marketplace of nations, there are spirits there that injure men. So if you think the first opportunity you have to a bribe is to take it, what you have done is that you have made yourself a casualty. They will not say anything. It's the day of your manifestation that they will go and bring that file and say, you took bribe. And because you took bribe, you can't qualify. And something will happen to you that will close that door forever. I'm showing you the difference between light and darkness. We operate by a different set of rules. You can have an opportunity. A pastor had an opportunity, went somewhere to preach, and they told him, whatever you need, have it. Even the sisters that came to serve were part of the amenities. So if you need steak, order steak. If you need a buffet, there's buffet, and there are other kinds of buffet. And the pastor, are you serious? He saw it as an opportunity. That's how ministry ended. Because you cannot touch certain things. He said, come out from among them. He said, touch not the unclean things. They that bear the vessels of God must be holy. One of the signatures we must possess is that we don't compromise. We stand rigidly under the government of a kingdom that is eternal. The Bible said, the standard of the Lord standeth sure. He said, therefore the Lord knoweth them that are his. And he said, they that nameth the name of the Lord, he said, they must depart from iniquity. If your garment is stained, you have lost your priesthood. Because Satan can resist you. He said, Zacharias the high priest stood in his office as a high priest. He said, but Satan was resisting him. And there was nothing God could do except, as he said, take off the filthy garment. If the filthy garment is on you, you have no priesthood for the nations. I'm telling you because they've taught us how to cut corners. And they make us feel it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. In Jesus, we have forgiveness. So you have forgiveness of sin. And then you see people who are living the practice of fornication, hoping they will wield scepter where kings are talking. That's why you see young people die of high blood pressure. You see young people die of cancer. And you are wondering, these are supposed to be things that attack old men. They've touched the forbidden fruit. And because they are living dark lives in secret, they become vulnerable. God will forgive you, but you will not have power for kingdom. Because the heir, so long as he's a child, is not different from a servant. You are the heir. You have all that Christ has given you. But if you choose the path of field, in the spirit, they look at you like a servant. A point will come when, if you are there for 15 years, you will not even know how to say Jesus is Lord. Because something has gone wrong with your soul. In fact, a point will come, you start feeling, you say, I love a man. And they say, what do you mean? Say, that's how I feel. I live by how I feel. And you see a man say he loves a man. He didn't know that he's a victim of the demonic priesthood. Meanwhile, there's a lot of advancement in civilization, but the heart is dark. And then you come to this side of Africa. You are highly religious. You are praying. You are fasting. But you are irrelevant in the marketplace. Because you don't have the intelligence to contend there. And even those who are in your government, corruption eats their soul up. The money that belongs to the nation, 5 people share it. And they think wisdom is to go to Dubai and sleep in 5-star hotel. So they are backward mentally because of demonic intelligence. You go to the Middle East, you say, this excellence is out of this world. But you see the sword everywhere. Cutting people's head is wisdom. And they think that is how to live your life if you are relevant, if you are wise. All of those things are codes written into different territories because civilizations are formed from the roots of darkness. And so when God is calling us into priesthood, is to revamp the foundation of civilization. It's not just to succeed in business. It's to change the laws in the marketplace. It's not just to succeed in government. It's to change the laws in the government. So when a man who carries a priesthood enters the government, he will not just rule well and bring advancement in civilization. He will change the laws. And a day will come when this same government that if you don't involve in corruption, you will not win, will change. The order will change because a new priesthood has been established. So beyond having a president that is interested in education and interested in developing the people, you need a president that has the power to change the code. So that when another political dispensation comes, what it takes to go into that office would have changed. The people who have money to bribe, they will say, keep your money, we don't need it. We need a righteous man. When you see those things happening, know that a new priesthood has come. Because it's no longer about money during election anymore. What is your manifesto? What is your plan for the people? People start thinking differently because the atmosphere has changed. But you see, for us to ascend to that height, there's a protocol. And so you find some people, they are there reciting scriptures, meditating on scriptures. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. What they are doing is to condition the mind to focus on the heavens. You find some, they are playing only hymns. And as the hymns are playing, they are just talking in their spirit. And after a while, they come out of the limitations of the flesh. And they come to a height where spiritual propensities are activated. And you can be on the earth and become a bishop. You can be on the earth and become an apostle. You can be on the earth and become a deacon. You can be on the earth and become a governor. It's when you go out there, you will not have the dimensions of God to show because you have not gone there. Anybody who has gone there, we have evidences that he entered Zion. If you go, it must rub off on you. And so when you want and know that this thing is what empowers you, you will pay the price. And so when you start doing priesthood, one of the things you will preserve is your hunger. Because when you are not hungry and you are using your willpower itself will become a distraction. But when there is hunger, that hunger pulls you upward. And I can tell you, one of the things the devil attacks in your life the most is your hunger. That's why when something awakens on your inside, suddenly the devil brings distraction. Seasonal movies, tarrying on Instagram, watching pictures. Friends that you have not met for 10 years suddenly come and they want you to do everything in the season of revival. But when a man is a priest, he knows how to guard it. In Leviticus 6:12, he said the fire on the altar must not be put out. He said the priest must put wood on it every morning. So the job of priesthood as touching waiting is to keep that fire burning so that you are drawn perpetually to the realm of God and your focus remains only on God. If you are able to hit that crescendo in the spirit, then you proceed to the third level. God begins to reveal himself to you. That's the realm of beholding. It is from the realm of beholding that transformation and transfiguration begins. But you see, you have to climb 2 ladders to reach that realm. The Bible says we all with open faces. He said, beholding us in the glass, the glory of God, we are changed. If you tarry and wait and you are caught up, you will see that the first thing you will encounter are the dimensions of God. For some of us, we will encounter his fire. For some of us, we will encounter his wisdom. For some of us, we will encounter his power. So you will notice that the way God equips you is not necessarily to give you things, it's to make you. What did they say during COVID? They say, men, we've lie on the street dead in Africa. You think they didn't have a plan? If not for the mercy of God, even the nose mask you are wearing, some of them would have been infected. So you are wearing nose mask, think you are avoiding COVID, but you are inhaling disease. And so we need people who are watchers. They can intercept programs, global programs, and say this one can happen. We need men who are watchers, who can intercept international programs and say this one cannot happen. That's the level of authority God is looking at. What God is looking at is not my business is prospering. Some of you will be young. In your 30s, you will sit on those tables. Do you know where men like Mark Zuckerberg sit down to negotiate? Over nations and continents. Why would God not raise such from Africa? Who can sit with them on such tables and make decisions? Because most of the global trends you see, it's on those tables they make them. Because at this level, it's beyond my business is prospering. At this level, we are discussing the fate of humanity. So you see them come, they tell you they are donating for polio, they are donating, you think it's donation. They are telling you that we have the right over the gate of health. We have the right over the health of people. We have the right over the population of nations. That's what they are saying. And you can't argue with them because only them have the economic power to sponsor it. You don't have it. If you talk, nobody hears you. But what happens when you begin to operate at that level? You can say, no, this program for Africa, I refuse. Because you are of the priesthood of light. That's why God raises watchers. You know, when you become a general, you can be a 1-star general. You can be a 2-star general. You can be a 3-star general. You can be a 4-star general. And then you can be a 5-star general. There are some things you can do as a 1-star general. A 1-star general is a brigadier general. They can keep him in charge of a battalion or a brigade. But when you become a 2-star general, they can make you director of operations. Because at that level, you are now a major general. So beyond the battalion, you can hold a position in the armed forces of the nation. So you can head operations, you can head intelligence, you can head, then you become a 3-star general. In certain nations, the chief of defense staff is a lieutenant general, a 3-star general. Because most nations don't even have 4-star generals. To show you how these things work. So the whole armed forces may have a gap of 4-star generals. Because you don't just give people rank to fill up. No, the rank is not a buffet where you pick what you want. People don't fill up, they grow. It is entrustments. They are earned. They are badges that are earned. And so the same thing happens in priesthood. As all of us begin to minister to the Lord until we are sent, and we all become legislators and litigators, you will see that our authorities will be different. Why do many people fail? They want to operate authority levels that they are not qualified for. And they think because we are all Christians, we are all equal. It's a joke. In salvation, we are equal because God paid the same price for all of us. But in kingdom, we are different. Because the assignment God can entrust us with are different. We are not the same. I'm telling you, we are not the same. And so as you become a legislator and a litigator, you begin to press. That's why 2 people can be marketplace apostles. One is doing business with ambassadors and kings. Another one will do business with local government chairmen. That's his level of clearance. There's no excitement that can make him interact with ambassadors. If you want to even help him, you may think helping him is to invite him for a meeting. Take him there. Tell him to talk. Give him your slot. When he's done talking, they will now notice that this person shouldn't come again. And you know the way principalities work? When they show up, what they do is that they look, you know, the devil can't give any gift. It's primarily a being of destruction. They are finding out what their weaknesses are. And so some of them love money. Some of them love flamboyance. Some of them love women. The job of the principality is to create a system where all of these things are available. And as they give those things to them, they draw their attention from God and they begin to pursue those things. Now, when they pursue those things to a level, their appetites become bigger. And the more the appetites become big, the more of it they want. So the principality will now come for a deeper negotiation. If you want more, then you have to enter a covenant. But he started by checking their abilities. Now, those abilities are supposed to be the abilities harnessed on the altar of priesthood. But because they didn't have priesthood in light, the devil initiated priesthood in darkness. Those of us who are apostolic in nature, we are creatures of authority. One of our predominant abilities is faith. We can make declarations and break territories open. When the principalities come, they will know that your weakness will be pride. So they will create a system that anchor on your pride, and you will be driven away from God because of your pride. The job of the principality is to make sure he establishes quadrants of such people. And when he has established them, these people will now give them legality to establish their dominion in the territory. Because they didn't have the original dominion. The dominion belongs to the men, but the men have to give clearance. But they need to find out where they can negotiate with the men. And when they have negotiated and the clearance is given, then they begin to establish their dominion. So what happens is that when a principality finishes its job, a power now comes. What you call an addiction is not an addiction. It's the operation of a power. It binds you to that thing that has drawn you away from God. And so when a power binds you, then a ruler of darkness comes. The word ruler of darkness is cosmos kratos. They are magistrate that creates laws in the cosmos. So what they do is that thing that is an addiction becomes a law. That's when, even if you want to break out, you can't anymore. You will need deliverances for it to happen. But even at that time, it has become a principle that runs your life. Because a ruler of darkness has come. And when they see that your job with them is over, then spiritual wickedness comes. Those are called ponerias. Their job is to afflict. So the lady began, first of all, pursuing money and going to her lottery and thinks she's doing well. After a while, she has HIV.